This is the EVP Podcast. Hey, so we are in Synchronicities in Sandy, Utah. Beaker, actually, you brought us over here. Tell us a little bit about Synchronicities and then Audra, the person that we met up with today.
Okay. So Synchronicities is a really awesome metaphysical crystal shop. They have all sorts of different crystals here that you can buy. They have tarot cards, different oracle cards you can buy. They do sell incense and sage and other things as well. One of the main things that they do here, besides all of this merchandise that you can buy, is they have a whole slew of energy healers and readers that work in this space. They'll rent the space out, and you can come down and connect with one of these readers or these energy healers. Some do like Reiki, some do I know one that does Ascension Masters talks. There's all sorts of things that they do here. And last week they actually did an art show in the basement. So they do all sorts of events here. You can find them on Facebook at Synchronicities, and we can put a link up on our Facebook page as well. But they have a whole list on there. They kind of have the list here in the store as well. So this has a list of some of the people that do the energy work here. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see that. For those listening, you can't. But you can go on the Facebook page. You can see the different healers that they have working here, and you can schedule a session with them. If you actually come down to the store, they just put this up a couple weeks ago. They have a computer here at the front counter that's open on their Facebook page as well that shows all the healers that work here, and you can look at their profiles. You can read about what it is they do, and you can schedule an appointment with them here at Synchronicities. So the person that we chose to work with today, her name is Audra Valdez, and the reason why we chose her is I've actually worked with her a bunch. I've one of the first people that I had energy work with here, actually the first person I did energy work with here was Audra, and I've done several readings with her as well. When I was struggling with the previous business that I was in, the previous podcast that I was on, wasn't sure if it was the right thing for me. I actually came down and had a reading with Audra, and it was through that reading that I started doing some more meditation and listening more to my intuition, and I ultimately made the decision to approach DVO and Ghosty and talk to you guys about starting a new podcast. And we actually talked about this for probably about 8 months before we finally got it up and going. So I think we started the talks about a year ago, actually in June last year, in 2020. And then we made it a reality in February. So the big reason why I chose Audra is because this podcast that you're listening to or watching right now probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the guidance I received through one of the readings with her. This is why I chose Audra. And DVO's never had a reading before, and we wanted to pop his cherry, so to speak. And I think it went really well.
Okay.
And we will talk a little bit more about that after we're gonna cut into the reading now, so you're gonna see exactly how the reading went, and then we will talk about
the results,
I guess. Right after.
So just, I thought it'd be important to kind of give some context a little bit, because you're going to hear a reading, and just for some context, you have understanding of maybe who is DVO and how it's relatable to the reading is. So me and Ghosty are brothers. We've been lived in Utah. Beaker here has lived in Utah his whole life as well.
We actually all went to high school together at the same time.
Yeah.
Obviously, you and Ghosty knew each other because you're brothers, but it was funny to find out after we kind of started talking more, realizing that your senior year was my junior year.
Which was Ghosty's
sophomore year. And we all went to Hillcrest High School together.
Yeah, at the same time.
Didn't know it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously those two knew it, but they didn't know me. I didn't know them, but we have actually been around each other probably at some point in time when we were all teenagers and didn't realize it.
That is pretty interesting. So what I do, for a living or for a career, whatever you call it, besides my hobbies of paranormal investigating and podcasting and other things. So I do have 2 other podcasts along with this one with just me and Ghosty, and then I have my very own podcast. And it's just kind of me, just kind of giving thoughts, my ideas, interviewing people, mostly entrepreneurs and leaders. But anyway, I do for one of my businesses as well is I do a lot of coaching. So I coach people on all different avenues, whether it's business, life, marriage, money, finance, you name it. I kind of can help kind of coach people, and I have done a lot of public speaking. I've been up on stage a lot, and so these are just some things about me that just kind of helps maybe put some context to this reading. And you were mentioning Audra does other things too, right? Besides not just readings, but she has some other things.
Yeah, so she makes, she does some essential oil roll-ons. We actually bought one we don't have the bell this week, but I bought one for Brandy last week.
Okay.
So ding. But she also makes paint that
Oh,
you can
interesting.
use. It is infused with essential oils as well. So she's got a whole like little kit, like a starter kit that you can buy that if you want to paint pictures, if you're into art and stuff like that. I'm sure she's got all of this stuff on her website. We'll put all the links up.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put all the links in the description. So let's get into my reading.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the EVP podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Beaker,
I'm DVO.
and this
I'm
is
Audra.
there we go.
Special guest today.
If you're watching us on YouTube, the room's kind of small. We are filming and recording live, not really live. We never do it live. We're not Bill O'Reilly. We are at Synchronicities today, and we have, like you've already heard her voice, Audra, with us. She is our special guest for the week. Ghosty is out doing ghosty stuff.
Yep. He's going to be trying to do an investigation up in Northern California, I believe.
So we replaced him with someone much better looking.
Yes.
For the week. But she is very special. She does stuff.
I do magic stuff, right?
And for those of you listening on Spotify and whatnot, I probably sound a little off because we are not in the normal recording studio, and I'm trying to throw my voice into these magic lapel mics I don't have on me. So yes, this will be a fun episode.
Yeah, so we talked. We did an episode about spirit guides, and we talked about maybe me getting a reading done. And Beaker highly recommended Audra to do that for me, and I'm a little interested. So Audra, why don't you just do a quick little introduction about yourself and what it is that you do exactly?
Well, that is a good one. There's not an exact science to what
Okay.
I do.
I mean, honest answer. I like it.
So I have always had spiritual gifts. So
Okay.
I have always done a lot of work with my dreams. I'm a very conscious, lucid dreamer. When I ask, like I did last night, when somebody comes to me, I ask, hey, if anybody needs to talk to me, come in that venue. So the night before, I will say your name a few times and
Okay.
your birth date to make sure that it's for you, and I invite them to come in and talk to me. Sometimes they come and sometimes they don't.
Okay.
Sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't.
And you said
So,
someone came to you last night about
it was kind of a little bit of a conference.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I do a lot of different things. So I not only do that dream work. I teach classes. I work with people that have spiritual gifts that maybe are struggling and
Okay.
need some ways to integrate it. I like to be very grounded in real.
Okay.
I grew up in weird woo-woo-y places with people doing crazy eye rolling, and I'm just like,
Okay, got
I'm
it.
not that kind of a person. And I
You're
don't
open-minded, you mean?
open-minded,
Yeah.
don't need my eyes rolling in the back of my
Yeah,
head
I
doing
like
weird
it.
stuff, right? So I use lots of different tools for what I do to get information because I'm clairvoyant as well and clairaudient in a certain way. I don't hear voices, but I get words that pop into my head, and then I am empathic, so I have body feeling. So when I get information, it's not just one way, it's lots of different ways. And I
Okay.
don't always know which way it's coming when it's the particular person sitting in front of me.
Okay.
So,
All
there you
right.
go.
Well, I'm excited to do this reading. We will put Audra's information into the description of the podcast. We'll put all that there so you can contact her and reach out to her for reading, whatever you want. We'll actually put again, we have a picture of your card. We'll put that up as well.
Yeah. Go to innervistas.com.
All right. Perfect.
One of the things that I really like about Audra's readings, I don't know if you can kind of see it on the video. She's got this notepad here. And
Oh,
she
yeah.
will be doing drawings of what your guides are telling her.
Okay.
Sometimes drawings don't happen, Tim, but most of the time.
I've always gotten drawings, so good luck.
Okay. All right.
I do automatic drawing, so
Okay.
I'm an artist, and so when I practice, I like to let things come through my hands so that I'm not thinking about it so hard.
That makes
You
sense.
know, so, but we had some cool stuff for you last night. But before we get started, so I'm just going to ask your guides and angels to be with us. They've
Okay.
actually been with me since last night, so they're still here. But I want your involvement in that, so we're just going to ask them all to be here.
Okay.
Easy peasy,
Yeah.
done.
Okay.
And I would also like you to draw a card for me, because sometimes that can help direct. So hold the cards for me for
All
just a
right.
minute.
What kind of cards are these?
So these are oracle cards.
Oracle cards.
And they've got a particular name, and I don't know what that is. They're just a deck that I like.
Okay.
Oracle cards are a little different than tarot. Tarot has very, like playing cards, they've got suits and different
Okay.
things and different meanings. And oracle cards are more visual to, they help me kind of, I don't even look at the words usually that's written on the cards.
Okay.
I just look at the pictures to help spur information for you. So,
All right.
all right. So now I want you to pick one.
The one on top, actually. I just
Oh,
moved it to
this
the top.
is the one
Yes.
on top. Okay, cool. Sweet. So we can see that.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So
put it a little bit closer to the
Yeah.
camera.
can put that. There are a lot of ladies on my cards, but
All
it
right.
doesn't necessarily mean anything. All right.
It was quite known. DVO likes the ladies. Just kidding.
I'm sure to tell you what.
Especially her.
So looking at the cards, usually, when I look at a card, it's going to be whatever stands out the most to
Okay.
me. Right here, big ideas. So
Right.
there's some golden gem out there, this idea that you have that I think is something that you may want to feed a little bit more into.
Okay.
All this stuff around here, these are little tiny buttons, which
Oh.
is interesting to me. I've never had this card pulled before, by the way. It's just kind of neat. There's a little bit of Mother Mary going on,
Yes.
which is interesting to me too, compared to the dreaming that I had last night too. So we'll talk,
You'll share that,
we'll
right?
talk
Okay,
more
okay,
about that.
okay.
Yeah. So a little bit of Mother Mary kind of going on. I don't know what your religious affiliation, and most of the work that I do is kind of it covers all bases. So
Okay.
we'll have all the religions have shown up in different ways, shapes, and forms. And from what I understand about the other side of things is that religion doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It's it's your flavor of venue that you like to go to is awesome.
Okay.
The energy that is created, that I call it the Christ-like energy that's around our earth that we can tap into, comes in lots of different flavors.
Got it.
So anyway, so these little tiny buttons in there, there's two big things that come up for me. So one is whatever this big idea is that you might have in your life, the little buttons are like small little stops along the way. You've
Okay.
got lots of little stops or lots of little pieces that you're pulling together and they're not quite sewn on yet.
All right.
Okay, the big idea is very much tied into a more central, I would say religious aspect, but a spiritual aspect of it. So it's
Okay.
like, go with whatever that idea is that really, really you're like, oh, that's the thing that, like, it's almost like praying to
Okay.
it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're kind of like, it's almost like like the religious icon of your life, kind of an idea.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so it's like, okay, go for that. The buttons kind of tie in a little bit with the dreaming that I had last night for you.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'll tell you about the dream a little bit, but there's, most of the time when I'm dreaming, there are little bits that I know are my stuff, but then there's these sections.
All right.
That just kind of like, all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, this is somebody else's stuff. Okay, cool. And oh, there's that guy. And oh, okay.
Okay.
So I kind of try to capture as soon as I wake up, because sometimes, life,
Yes,
you're
yes.
blow drying your hair and you blow dry your memories away,
I
right?
don't know if you noticed. You don't know what it's like
Sorry.
to blow dry his hair.
That's my, I got enough, I'll share. So in this particular dream for you, it was a bit of a diplomatic conference. So that had a lot of components to it. There were a lot of children that were kind of in rows, And at first I thought, oh, are we here for like a church service? Because there was a guy up front that was kind of preaching a little bit. It wasn't really super preachy, but he was kind of up there directing, like a spiritual director. And I'm like, oh cool. All right, so this guy, and it's funny because he actually didn't have any hair either. He was very bald. Except he was like naturally like all the way bald.
Okay.
So he was up talking and more like the spiritual leader. And he was only there for a brief moment, but he was definitely part of your team. So there is a spiritual leader there. And most guides for me do not give me names.
Okay.
And I was somebody the other day said, well, just make up one, because then they'll associate, if you're associating a name with a particular guide for you, then you know who you're talking to, right?
Right.
So you can make that up whatever you want, whatever
Okay.
comes to you. What's interesting though in this, so the service of whatever, we were outside too, and there was like a berm of grass, so we were outside, an outdoor service, and then all of a sudden it became, all these adults came to the back, and they were setting up tables like a banquet or a benefit is what I was getting, like a benefit to raise money for something. And when I turned, I was in the front, standing kind of in the front row area where all these kids were, rows and rows of children. All the other kids outside of the front row were gone and were sitting back at this benefit table having dinner, okay? But the front row kids, they were like, wait a minute, what happened? We didn't get the memo. Nobody told us it was time. And then they just disappeared, okay? In the back where all these diplomats were, there was one in particular, they were kind of like, even though we were outside, they were working the room, right?
Okay.
So this one gentleman was wearing a uniform. It was kind of in my mind, it's a kind of a grayish blue uniform with lots of medals on it.
Oh, okay.
It had a little bit of a feel of German. And I know your last name is German, but it was
Dutch.
like, is it Dutch?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, this was very Germany.
Okay.
But all those countries can kind of work together. Anyway, I thought German, but he was very, very, very diplomatic. Very diplomatic. He was like working the room, and if somebody asked him a question and that he didn't really want to answer, or because of mixed company, he'd be like, just a minute, and he'd step out of the room, and then he'd come back and he'd visit and visit and visit, and then he'd circle back around to the person that asked the question, and he'd be like, you need to talk to so-and-so in so-and-so village, and they'll get you the answer, and then he'd walk away. So it was like sneaking people information in an extremely diplomatic way. So, and I'm going to check my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything. So his last name was interesting, because he stood up at a podium and was being questioned, and he did that where it was like somebody asked a really tough question, and he walked out of the room. He was like, oh, just a minute, and he left the room, and he's like, okay, it was like resetting the clock is what I kept seeing him doing. He was resetting the clock to redo and answer something better, or to skip the hard questions, and anyway, it was I was just like, wow, I'm impressed. So I got a lot of information about this particular guy, which is interesting to me, and you'll have to fill into it as far as how he shows up for you, because it was very, for sure, someone who is working with you for a particular reason. I'm not sure how things translate. Sometimes when, because I really feel like this was a living person. Most guides that I've worked with may not necessarily have actually been here on earth. They may be other spiritual, angels or whatever. There's lots of different terminologies that people have made up for them. I don't always know what they are, but they come in, but sometimes when there's people that have lived on earth, they've got some other business they need to do. It's not always to do with their living family. Sometimes it is just to change or to continue working or make some change or some difference to somebody else in the world because they didn't get it done when they were living.
Okay.
And that is, I think, the case for this particular guy. It feels like to me that he was probably in World War II, that he was somehow in diplomatic relations with the Germans. Either he was a German or he was in diplomatic relationships with them, trying to make things happen. But he was secretly on the sly, taking care of kids, trying to get the kids out of Germany or trying to protect. And he may have had something to do with the Jewish children or other types of children. I'm not even sure,
Yeah.
but somehow his dealings were kind of behind the scenes to show up as this strong leader type, but on the back scene he was kind of running a get the kids out of Dodge kind of program. Okay, but he missed some.
I see.
Okay, so that front row of children that were in that space in the dream anyway got missed,
I see.
or he didn't reach them in time, or something didn't click.
Mhm.
And so he's like, I'm like, do you see that hair
I do,
standing up
yeah, I
on the
do.
end? That's my guides going, yes, that's it. So he didn't quite get his job done, and he feels spiritually responsible to help move things forward or do something good to not to replace that act, but to continue the work that he didn't quite get done, right?
Yeah.
So may or may not have anything to do with it. You like deep down inside you, there may be this goal, this thing, this big thing that you really wish that you could really get your fingers into. Okay,
There actually
something
is.
big, something big.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know what that is.
I exactly know what it is.
Okay.
I can say it. It doesn't matter.
Okay, yes,
but-
yeah. So if it has anything to do with kids, cool. If it doesn't, it doesn't matter. This guy is here to like really support transmuting his energies from that time frame into now. He's with you to really help you move things forward, and he's going to help you with your diplomacy. He's going to help you ask questions in the right way. If you ask the wrong question, he's going to step away for a second and come back and go, okay, ask again. Right? So if you ever find yourself where you're trying to get something out of someone, trying to get a right answer or a direction, if you're not getting what you need, take his advice and step away for a minute,
Got it.
breathe, and then kind of do a little reset. Okay, hey, let me readdress that thing. You know, let me ask this in a different way so that it's more clear.
Yeah.
And you may have to kind of, I don't know, this guy is, I mean, I was sitting there going, dang, I'm so impressed with how he I don't say schmooze, but it was like schmoozing. He wasn't making other people feel good. He was just like, he'd show up and go, they would say, well, were you involved with the Fuhrer? And he'd be like, oh, well, you know what? Hang on just a second. I forgot something. You know, and he'd step away, and then he'd come back, and then he'd be like, no. And then you know, but let me tell you about you know. And so
Seems
anyway.
like something I would do. Wait, hold on a second. No.
Yeah. So his name, I wrote it down like 5 times in my dream. I was like seriously trying to remember how to spell it because it was really long, and it started with an H, and it was something like Heitzenzeitz or Heitzen something like that. And then at the benefit, after he kind of went away, I was looking at the table, and it had things to auction off. But they were little cards describing it with very, very pretty pictures and whatever. And people were doing different things with these cards, but there was a card here and then a card, and I was like, I was trying to read the name because it had his name on it or something related to his name, and I was like, Hudson, you know, trying to pronounce it. My guides, who always kind of reach over my shoulder or talk to me over my shoulder, kind of came out and said, well, you missed something. It's there's like there are 2 cards that were exactly the same. They had a beer bottle on them, and it was green on the back side. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's some relation to him and a beer company. and it starts with an H. I was thinking like a Hefeweizen or
Heineken.
or Heineken, but it's something very Germany.
Okay.
So there may be a German style beer.
Well, Hefeweizen, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't drink beer, so.
Yeah.
But that connection, for some reason, is to let you know that he's part of you. So if you see that, or you may want to research it, you don't have to. But if you wanted to learn a little bit more or to get some kind of a tie-in, it may lead you down a path to get something that you need for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. So, or you might just need to go get a Hefeweizen and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, cheer him
I'm not
on.
opposed to that.
Sweet. Let me just double check here. I tend to have a lot of World War II people connect to me for some reason.
Okay.
And occasionally there have been times where the guide or the person, the spirit comes and says, hey, I need your help, I need your attention. This particular guy doesn't need, like, he's not in critical need of help. He's not here for you to help him. He's here to help you, but in helping you, in fulfilling your goals and pushing you forward, he's actually transmuting the energy of the stuff that he needs to deal with from his past.
The German.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, so do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay. Blue gray. Let's see. I'm just making sure I got all the notes.
Sure.
This guy was not bald. He had brown hair.
Okay.
A nice head of dark brown hair. So, and it was cut very short. There was a podium. He was standing at a podium too, which is important, and so it makes me want to say, okay, I'm seeing you kind of flipping roles. So you standing in front of a podium, speaking, getting some information out there, or fielding questions about something big. So
Okay.
I don't know if that ties into whatever this big life goal is, but being willing to stand up and answer those tough questions, and you have a diplomatic entourage that can help you prepare for that can help you get the word out, that can help you speak your truth and do it in a kind, diplomatic way, so that you're not, you're not gonna like in his time. It's like you say the wrong things, you're dead, right?
Right.
So, but here it's like, okay, here it's more about, let's make sure we don't offend anybody.
Okay.
Let's make sure they get the point, even when it's a tough point, that you get heard here
Okay.
and not just, oh yeah, and blown off. So it's helping you
Okay.
with that really good diplomatic relationships there. So there were a ton of other people there, though.
Okay.
In this particular scenario,
Do you think they were all my spirit guides?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
wow.
yeah. So in my life, there are some people that come to me that have maybe one or two super close guides. And usually I have one that's a kind of the spokesperson. Everybody has to go through her first.
Okay.
So, because she knows how to talk to me,
Uh-huh.
right? But most people have quite a few, and they may not be super close. Like they
Uh-huh.
kind of come in and they kind of come out when you need them. You came with like this whole entourage
Wow.
of people. I feel like this whatever his name is. You probably need to find out his first name. It's Heizenzeitz is what I wrote down, but which is, there's a lot of Z's in there.
Okay, all right.
He may be kind of your spokesperson, although there is that religious connection. Do you have a strong religious background?
I wouldn't say strong, but being in Utah, dominantly the LDS church
Okay.
here, and I was baptized LDS.
Okay. Well, Mother Mary's coming out, so she's
Okay.
all Catholic. But well, regardless of that, there is a strong religious or spiritual connection with that. It may not have anything to do specifically with the church, but there is everything to do with almost the guy wasn't an evangelist, but he was like a leader, like a spiritual leader. Okay, so so you have at least spiritual leader. You've got a soldier, diplomatic soldier going
Okay.
on, but you also have this huge room. It's kind of funny because he had some of the drawings that I do are automatic, but these are like this guy. He's standing here at this podium, and there's this sea of people all here, and they're all asking all these crazy questions about different things, and I could not hear a lot of the specifics that were being asked.
Okay.
But these people were all connected. They were like shoulder to shoulder, which tells me that they're close and they're kind of a close group. But there was a lot of them. I would say
Okay.
probably at least 50, if not 100 people standing in there. And I got little glimpses here and there, you know, a blonde-haired woman here and a
Okay.
man over here. They were all, other than the children that were over at the table, I don't think those were guides for you. Those were more related to the German guy. But the rest of this group, it's almost like field reporters and people that are out, and it maybe has something to do with doing interviews and asking the right questions and you know, really getting and drawing out the stuff from the person that you're questioning, right? These are the kinds of guides that you have around you. They're there to support you in really pulling out what you need, pulling out the information that you need from people. It really literally is like imagine like a press conference at the White House, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
If you need something, they are like, okay, we're gonna have a press conference. All right, who's the one that's got the answers? Okay, let's pull that out. Let's direct him where he needs to go to get that right information. So your job in having this group, you can use them however you choose.
Okay.
And sometimes for me, knowing that I have somebody that's got my back is enough to ease tensions, ease fears, ease the worries, because you can actually you don't even have to say it out loud. You don't have to talk out loud to them. They can hear what's in your mind. They're connected into your soul. So on a soul level, you could be laying there tonight and going, okay, she says that you guys are there. Why don't you come visit me? Right?
Okay.
And invite them in. You don't even have to speak it out loud. So
Okay.
if you have something going on in your life where you're in a circumstance and you're unsure of how to approach it, I would certainly be going, okay, dude. If you can't remember his names, like dude in suit, whatever your name is, what is the best diplomatic way to handle this situation? Then your job is to really ask a question and then listen.
Okay.
And be open to however that information comes. You have some pretty intuitive abilities, I believe, naturally anyway, but the mind can sometimes cloud the information. Okay?
I can see that.
So when you feel something, if you're like, hey, should I turn left or right? And you feel this knocking on your right leg, and you're like, oh, I got a cramp.
Yeah, okay.
You ignore it, right? And your guys are going, he asked, I gave him the answer, and he's not listening,
all right.
right? So part of our jobs as humans in this form, when you're wanting to do something bigger, something more that really makes your soul sing, that thing that you're here for, and you may have lots of things, like I have lots of things I'm interested in, right?
Right.
But there's this big underlying thing that really feels like, oh, if I could just, save the world, if I could just do that. Our job with this group of people, they're here to support you to make whatever that is happen.
Okay.
Whatever flavor you want to make it, and if you change your mind midway, it's okay too. They're here to help you accomplish whatever it is you decide you want to accomplish. But your job is to listen.
Okay.
If you're going to ask and connecting in with them, you can ignore them. You certainly can. We've all gone through a good chunk of our life and not paid that close attention to the information that we're getting. But wouldn't it be cool if you weren't 100% alone or
Right,
feeling
right.
alone all the time. And if you knew you had at least 100 people, like super close people standing really like
Yeah.
just outside your vision, they're all like, okay, we're waiting. He's gonna ask. He's gonna ask us a question. He's got it. He's got it. You know, so my encouragement would be to practice asking and listening. And that can look a lot of different ways. So I like to play games. I call them oracle games.
Okay.
So like even on the way here, say, okay, I was like, okay, your guides talk to me through the radio. And I
Alright.
literally, I have the thing where I turn on the radio, I hit the button, the scan button 3 times, and then I go with whatever the first thing that's said, or the music might spur a memory or something. I take that as the answer to that they're talking to me. And maybe I'll
interesting.
ask a question or just random like, hey, tell me something about that guy.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you're like, he's no good, you know.
I knew it.
I knew it.
That was just an example. She was
Just an
giving.
example, I'm kidding. So that's just one game. Some people will use oracle cards,
Uh-huh.
right? You can flip through a book, you know. We've got a great big thick book at home that if I have a question, I'm just like, okay, I'm not getting anything, I don't know which way to go, and I just go brrr, and plop my finger down and I look and whatever sentence or word that is usually the answer.
Oh,
It's like,
interesting.
oh, okay.
Huh.
So, and you can also just pay attention, you know. I like to travel and haven't been able to travel very much.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, I really, really, really want to go on a trip. Should I go on the trip? I don't know. I'm hemming and hawing about it. And I pull up behind a car and it says Oregon on the license plate.
Ah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll go.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
That's where I'm going to go, right? So pay attention to those things. Any kind of little, anything that spurs a memory, they're not there by accident. Those are your guides trying to give you the information that you need to lead you along your way.
Okay.
So you can trust them because they are yours. They work for you, right? So
Yeah.
you get an answer and you're like, I don't like that answer. We need to have a conference. So when I work with my guides, you may have the good luck doing the same thing. I actually call them and say, okay, it's time to have a conference. Let's have a conference here. And I just sit for a minute and I imagine them all kind of gathering around and say, okay, this is the deal.
Can I ask how many guides you have?
A lot.
Okay. So that room of like 50 to 100, those are like my guides.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
those
okay.
are yours.
There's a few that kind of stand out more, like these 2 gentlemen that you're speaking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have a spiritual leader, and I think for sure that is super close to you, and this soldier guy,
Okay.
right? So I call him a soldier, but he's really not. He's a diplomat.
All right.
He's a like a wartime diplomat.
Okay.
Okay. So you have war and chaos in your life going on, or even if it just feels that way,
Uh-huh.
or a situation feels that way, he's got your back. He will help you
Okay.
figure it out, and you just need to sit and listen, and he'll be able to help you. I think getting his specific name will help you. I'll convert my notes into real brief notes that I took on the dream. I don't do this for everybody.
Okay.
But I'll convert that into a PDF and send it to you so you
Appreciate
can
that.
have that. Do with it as you will. So, cool. So, let me see if there's any other information. Do you have any questions about anything?
No, no questions.
Okay. Do you have anything that we haven't addressed?
No, I keep here like open-minded, just not knowing anything. So
Okay.
I really I'm just
This is,
No
I
questions.
believe this is his first reading ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. I grew up in a crystal shop like this, so
Oh, interesting.
my family were all woo-woo-y crazy people. So, that's one of I've seen some really weird stuff, and I try really, really hard to. Don't want to say normal because there is nothing that's normal, whatever normal is.
Sure.
I try to make sure that we're really grounded in this reality. A lot of people, like I can do past life stuff. I can do, we work with guides. We can look at particular situations. Everybody always wants to know, who they're going to marry and all that. I'm not the girl to come to for that. And I'm not the one to come to have a bunch of sob stories. Just come and I'll give you a reading and you'll get your information. But if you're having struggles with things, A lot of people tend to, like, they'll get a past life reading from somebody, and then
Okay.
now they're living their whole life trying to recreate Egypt or whatever. You know, they're
Got
getting
it.
something where they're buying everything Egypt-y and they're trying to be that way or whatever. And the thing is that any information that we have from the past, from spirit or whatever, it's to support you here. It's to support you now. Our bodies are in this room, touching this floor, and our spirits can go anywhere.
Right.
But it would be really cool if your spirit has actually that's attached to this body was always here 100% of the time, or as much of the time as possible.
Okay.
So I try to make sure that what information I grab for you that maybe is in the ethers, in the dream
Yeah.
world, from some other dimension or whatever, another time frame, that you have something that you can use and utilize here and now. Because you don't live in Germany, you're not a
Right.
diplomat in World War II, and you're not, as far as I know, you're not in front of a bunch of kids preaching, any of that
Right.
kind of stuff. But
I don't think that would be allowed nowadays.
True.
we could be a
Good point.
youth leader or something. But this is hopefully information that you can translate into your life now to ask more, ask
Okay.
questions more. Look for the answers and trust your gut feeling. Now, I get a lot of people that are worried about negative influences and stuff. In my opinion, positive and negative is relevant. But
Okay.
sometimes some spirits don't have your best intentions in mind. You don't have to listen to them.
Got
Okay?
it.
So if something doesn't feel good in your gut, or wherever you get, you're like, that's not good, listen to that. So
Okay.
if you get some information, because you have a lot of guides with you.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
I'm pretty sure you're pretty well protected anyway. But if something gets through that says, oh, you should just go scream and yell at that guy, or you should just, not be friends with that person anymore ever again, you can go, that doesn't feel good.
Okay.
And just go, no thank you,
Okay.
And just imagine your bodyguards, you will, coming around and going, keep the riffraff out.
Okay. Do you see any past lives for me?
Well, obviously there's some tie-in with World War II,
Okay.
or it could even have been before that time. But there's definitely some military presence. But the diplomatic side, somebody that would be related to doing talks and educating and interpreting, like, sometimes I don't have the right words. When you have multiple countries and multiple people that speak lots of different languages, the spirit that comes through would be somebody that can translate that, somebody that can stand up in front of the room and I don't feel like you were this guy, this one that we've been talking
Right.
about. He's just related to that, but you still have
Okay.
a little bit of historically some energies from a military time
Okay.
where it was a very strong military influence. I'm like Rome. I just totally heard Rome. Okay.
Oh.
So there's a little bit of Roman.
So spirit. One of your spirit guys just told you
Yeah.
around. Okay.
It's weird. It's almost, I don't hear it. It's almost like this billboard that says Rome across
wow. Okay.
inside my head. So, yeah, you can't leave without a picture too. So what I'm seeing is, let's see. I'm seeing like, it's almost like Caesar, but it's not Caesar. It's almost like a guy wearing a toga.
Okay. All right.
Doesn't mean you need to go off and have a toga party.
Caligula.
I see a gold squiggly thing on the shoulder, so that may be like not a general, but somebody of importance.
Okay.
Would be awesome to say, yes, you were Caesar in another life, but no, you're too diplomatic for that. So this person is again standing on a podium, like on some stairs, and there's a lot of people that you're speaking to. So there's this big goal that you have involves a lot of people, yes?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope to anyway.
So I think that the energy, not only from your guides, but which is probably why you have the group that you have, because you've been a diplomatic leader in other lifetimes.
Okay.
So you coming to now, whatever that thing is that you're trying to accomplish, pull in the right people, ask for the right people to come in. It feels like you can pull it together pretty, where you're like on the road. You may already be on the road, but be willing to step out a little and be brave and go, okay, I got a support. You do have a support team, even if you can't see them. You have this support team. You can pull the right people in the right places at the right time so that you can move yourself forward to accomplish that bigger dream, right?
Yes.
And make a big difference. So I'm like, I can't wait to talk to you later about what that is.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it feels very big. I get kind of this really excited feeling. There's a little bit of nervousness about the thought that, oh my gosh,
Right.
what? Ooh.
Yes.
It's like, oh my gosh, if I really was this person, I really make this happen, oh my gosh, you're not going to be able to hide anymore.
All right.
You'll be in the limelight a bit more.
Okay.
Okay, or people will know who you are, and that's really it's gonna make your heart sing. You'll be like, oh,
Okay.
there's no words to really describe that feeling. It's just like this. I'm like, oh my gosh. There's like, ooh. So I'm encouraging you. They're encouraging you.
Okay.
Take all of that. You had a lot of training in the spiritual life in other dimensions. So
Okay.
as far as lives go, in my experience, I've never met one person that's only had one life. Okay,
Uh-huh.
you've had all of them.
Yeah.
Every possibility has happened out in the
I
universe.
can introduce you to someone that's on their first life.
Oh, I don't know if I want to meet
It's
them.
the only person I know that's on their first life.
Interesting.
Interesting. Well, knowing that, I'm hoping that you can take what you have learned and what you do know and trust yourself. You have what you need to get you where you need to go and where you want to go, and you always are at choice. So if
Okay.
you change your mind along the way, they will make things happen to suit your new whatever it is that you want to do.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
sweet.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
So, that's so interesting. What I want to do is, again, I want to thank Audra for letting us record and do this with her. It's so nice. I appreciate this. Beaker and I are going to kind of talk, and then we'll kind of give you some notes right after this. So stick around. We're not ending right now. We're going to talk about this reading I just had. All right. Thanks.
All right. Well, that was pretty interesting for me. So Beaker, real quick, just your thoughts about my reading,
You know, it was interesting.
and then we'll pick it apart. Sorry.
It was interesting to see some of the things. Like obviously I've had my own readings done.
Uh-huh.
I normally don't sit in. I've been on like gallery readings, and the thing is like I kind of tune out because it's not information for me. It's not anything I need to know.
Got it.
Hearing some of the stuff about your reading was actually interesting, and it actually it makes sense to me. Some of the stuff that was said, because so one of the things I do when I tell people, getting a reading for the first time is don't give the reader information.
Right.
Because some people, like, if they're legit, they won't need the information, right? Some people will ask and fish for answers or fish for information and kind of try to feed off of that. I instructed you. I'm like, don't give any information.
Yes.
The only thing she asked for was your name and birthday.
Yeah.
That's the only
And
information
she actually said she doesn't really ask for that. She just felt compelled that she needed my full name and my birthday.
Yeah, and usually she doesn't. She's the same way. She doesn't ask a whole lot of questions. She just tells you, this is what I'm getting.
Right.
And to hear some of the stuff she said, I mean, it makes sense because a lot of the stuff that she talked about is stuff that you do, and she doesn't know anything about you.
Right. Yes.
So, I mean, that's to me it was like really cool to hear.
Yeah.
You've got something that you're working on in your life right now, and that she was able to give you this information, and then when all was said and done, we turned off the cameras and we had a little bit more discussion because some of the stuff was private, and unfortunately we can't share everything. But to see that, you explained some of the stuff that she talked about, and it was awesome to see how excited she got to get the validation
Yeah.
that the information she gave you was correct.
Yeah.
So, what was your take? I mean, this is your first reading. ever.
Yeah, so we purposefully, so Audrey does all different types of readings. We specifically went into spirit guides because of our episode a few weeks back on spirit guides, and I said, I don't know if I have spirit guides, and as she tells me the spirit guides that come to her, I'm like, well,
That's
that's
funny. I told you,
yeah,
everyone has spirit guides.
Yeah.
Right? How many did she say you had?
50 to 100.
Yeah.
Like this room is full of spirit guides for me, and I was like, wow, I had no idea. But then it just starts making sense because I always feel like even when I'm not sure about things, I always feel like I'm going to be guided in the right path, whether it's God speaking to me or spirit speaking to me, spirit guides. Like I always feel like I'll be on the right path. I'll be okay. I would kind of feel like someone had my back. And she said afterwards too, like,
She actually said that to you.
yeah,
That your guides, that there was two main specific guides, like your main
Yeah.
guide, and then another one that's kind of helping out quite a bit too. And it was the second one. She straight up said, "This guy will always have your back."
yeah. And she was saying afterwards too that, I think she said this afterwards, that they're kind of shoulder to shoulder. Like yes, this was afterwards.
Yeah,
She was
the
saying
whole
they're all
crowd,
they're
like
all
all-
shoulder to shoulder, and like they've got me covered. And that kind of made sense in a way too, where I'm not afraid when we do these paranormal investigations. Like my wife or friends are always like, "Aren't you afraid someone's gonna come home with you?" And I'm not. Like I just feel like, no, I don't. I think I'm too strong. But maybe it's not me. Maybe it's my spirit guides are too strong. I don't know, right? Like,
Well, when you got a good team backing you, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, look at it in football terms. Like, you're the quarterback, right?
yes,
These guides are your offensive line.
yeah, protecting me.
They're keeping stuff from getting through.
Yes.
So
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, it does. So let's talk about first. The first thing she mentioned was there was some type of spiritual leader that was speaking to kids sitting on the ground on the grass. That's what I was imagining. But
If that's what you imagine, then yes. Let's go with
okay,
that.
all right. And so he was out. She couldn't exactly hear what he was saying, but it was definitely some type of spiritual leader that was speaking. So that person's got my back, and I'm not exactly sure how that relates. So I'm not the most religious person. Like, again, we talked about how at the beginning of the intro, we're from Utah. The dominant religion here is Mormon or the LDS Church. I was baptized and raised LDS, but I'm what people call a Jack Mormon. You know what that means, right?
I would be considered one myself.
Yeah. So if you don't know what that means yes, you're Mormon, but you're not following everything. You're out swearing, drinking,
Watching R-rated movies.
watching already. Yeah, just
Hanging out at Metaphysical Crystal Shop.
yeah, right. So I don't, I always feel a calling that there is something, a higher power. I feel like there's some type of higher power. I don't know what. I don't know how to explain it, but I always feel pulled to that, even when I'm out, quote unquote, sinning.
You sinner.
A sinner.
I've never sinned today.
Sinner. So I haven't in the last 5 minutes, but
Well, it's been about an hour.
okay. So I don't know. That's interesting. I feel that was interesting. He's speaking to kids, and in the background, some people come in. In this, again, this is Audra's dream. What she did was she repeated my name and repeated my birthday before she went to bed last night, asking my spirit guides to speak to her because of this reading we were going to have this morning. And so that's kind of why she wanted that. So these people that came in and set up this table for like a banquet or a benefit of some sort, they're not necessarily my spirit guides. They were with one of my spirit guides, which was the German soldier or German diplomat. And then there was a room full of my spirit guides, about 50 to 100. But the other gentleman that she really saw was this German diplomat, this German type soldier. He's wearing a uniform, has medals on it. And he's very diplomatic in the sense where he's not really giving answers right away, but maybe thinking hard, taking time to contemplate the answers. He's given. He's being asked questions. He's up on a podium.
Well, and there was times like if he didn't know the answer,
Yeah.
like he would legit walk away, like he was going to confer with somebody else, and
Right.
then come back and be like, you know, no or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
give it the answer. Like it was like he was taking a quick time out to assess the situation.
Right.
And he would either like answer the question, or sometimes he would, I guess, kind of like gloss over it and like redirect the question or redirect the topic of conversation.
Yeah. So at first I thought it almost sounded like maybe he was a sneaky individual. That's kind of what the first impression I was getting. She was telling
Diplomatic
me.
spy.
Yeah. So
That's what I kept thinking.
I kept thinking double agent. Yeah, or like a spy. Yeah. So, like he was being sneaky. But then I found out why. Right. As she kept telling the story, basically was he was involved in some type of maybe World War II, or he was maybe some type of German diplomat or soldier, but also he wasn't really following what they wanted, which was maybe a little bit more on the negative side. He was trying to help free kids, and Audra slipped up, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but where she said Jewish kids, and whether they were or weren't Jewish, she wasn't sure, but it came to her mind probably because it was a time of maybe Hitler and the
Well, I mean,
Jews,
if it was
and
World War II, that would make absolute sense.
it would totally make sense. So it was a good assumption, and so she was like, well, later she was like, I don't know if they were Jews, but it would make sense that she would think that, and if they were in this dream of hers, it would make sense. And so that his job, or what he was trying to do, was help free these kids, and probably he didn't accomplish what he was trying to do. And when she was saying there's a big to do about it, it totally made sense to me, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it made a lot of sense to me what that meant. And then I drew the card, the oracle card. That actually was the very first thing I did, was draw the oracle card, and it had again Mother Mary on it. It had this big light bulb. Big golden light bulb, I should say. It was a golden light bulb, and that made sense. That actually ties together my idea and my plans I have about kids, actually. So it kind of all tied together, which was very interesting. So I'll talk about my big idea. It's no secret. The project I'm working on with my wife. But any other things that I'm missing or that you got out of it?
No.
And it was funny because she said that I'm very intuitive. And that's kind of all it relates to. I always feel like, again, I'm on the right path. Like I'm guided somehow. I just don't know what's guiding me, but I always feel like I'll be okay. So I kind of always felt that was pretty interesting. But the big idea that I'm actually working on, or that I'm wanting to get going, is actually a benefit. So her telling them this dream where these people are setting up this table, and these kids are getting up from this spiritual leader talking, and they get up to go to this table. Is actually I'm working on a benefit, some type of banquet or something. And if you follow me on my other podcasts, I've been interviewed on other podcasts as well. And one of the things that I feel is going to be my greatest legacy is my charity, my generosity. It's not going to be the businesses I create, but what I give back. And me and my wife have been talking about creating a 501c3. If you don't know what that means, it's the IRS code for a charity, and basically it makes everything tax exempt. So when you go to donate or give money, a lot of times you'll hear them say, oh, we're a 501c3, meaning it's a tax deduction. You can write it off on your taxes. And that's one thing we're trying to do. We're actually trying to put together a big benefit. And I was telling my wife a couple of the charities that I would like to give to right away that first come to my mind is, again, we live in Utah, but Primary Children's Hospital is over here at the University of Utah, and it's a big hospital for kids. And also St. Jude's Hospital, which, if you don't know what that is, it's for kids going through cancer treatment, and parents do not have to pay a dime. It's all covered. And kids and first responders and military all kind of touch me. They're all kind of dear to my heart. And she mentioned that I have maybe in a past life some type of military ties. A lot of my family today are all in the military. And I have a vision board at home. Me and my wife have a vision board. Do you have a vision board? Do you believe in vision boards?
I don't have one.
Okay. So we have a vision board. And if you don't know what a vision board is, it's basically, if you've watched the movie The Secret, a lot of times what people think of a vision board is you put all your goals up there, you put pictures of a car, a house, different things you want, and it's supposed to kind of guide you to help make those things manifest because you see them repeatedly, it gets set in your subconscious. And we have those things on our vision board. We have these cars and motorcycles and houses that we'd love to have one day. And vacations, we have like postcards of places we would like to visit.
So all those stuff that you want to give to me, just write my name next to it.
Sure, you got it, man.
On the vision board, like this is for Tim.
But also on our vision board, we actually have charitable causes on our vision board, things that we want to donate to. And we've done that. We've donated, $50 a year, $100 a year to different organizations. And I just wanted to look at it at a bigger scale. And that's why I was telling my wife, we just started talking about it earlier this year of 2021 that we want to do this big charity event and get people to come and donate and volunteer. And
See, and that would make sense to the beginning of the reading where she talked about you standing in front of her, not you, but like your spirit guide standing in front of a podium, talking to a group of children.
And I don't remember if she said this in here, in the recording, or it was afterwards, but she did say she sees me up there speak as well. And again, I do a lot of public speaking already for companies or for people. But I've actually envisioned myself speaking at this event about, bragging about the charity we're going to donate, about why everyone's so great to be there because what they're doing is a great thing for these charities. And I've envisioned myself up on the stage speaking about it.
What's funny is I haven't had that same vision. I've had dreams though, where I've been in front of on a stage, teaching people about the paranormal and the metaphysical.
Okay.
So I've actually had those. I've had those dreams for a couple of years now.
Oh, interesting.
Where I'm actually. This is kind of my starting off point. The platform. The previous podcast I was on, I did the same thing that we're doing now.
Right.
I just kind of took the format I used on the other podcast, brought it to this one, and I'm so glad I did because I'm so much happier with this podcast. I enjoy teaching people about what it is that we do and introducing people to things that they might not get introduced to. And I've actually had dreams similar to what you've had,
right.
But I'm teaching people about the paranormal and the metaphysical and teaching people about what I believe.
Got it.
And I think that's kind of cool that we have similar dreams or similar visions. Because I can see myself at some point in time traveling around and giving speeches, kind of like Ed and Lorraine Warren used to do.
Yeah, in fact, we actually had a coaching session, me and you, and we talked about that, and you were divulging that information to me as well, that you see yourself being out there kind of as a big helper, someone that helps people in some capacity. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to fine-tune what it is.
Yes.
And you will.
There's a possibility I might start working here as a healer here at Synchronicities. There's just personal things I need to get over first. And they're not huge things. It's just one of the main things is I have to obviously put up a biography on and tell people what it is that I do. And I could sit here and tell you on the video or on the podcast and whatnot what I do. But the problem is I have a hard time taking the thoughts and putting them on paper. I'm not good at writing things out. I used to struggle when I would write an email at my last job, it would be a 2-sentence email and it'd take me a half an hour to write it. Because I would just be am I making sense with what I'm saying? Is this worded perfectly? And, I get so consumed in, is it the right thing? Once I send this, I can't unsend it. I can't change it. So.
Just do it, man. Just do it.
So that's one of the big struggles. The other one is not that big either. It's, because I'm still kind of new. I was trying to find out, and I have to stop comparing myself to other healers.
Yes.
But it's the money thing. Obviously, I'm going to have to charge people, especially if I'm working here, because I have to rent the space.
Yeah.
I have to pay for it somehow. But it's just, I'm still struggling with the concept of charging people for the work I do. And once I get over those two hurdles, I'll start working here. And I'm coming more into terms with the money aspect of it. It's the other one I need to start working on as well. So
don't worry, I'll help you take the money. Don't worry, I got you.
So it's nothing huge. It's just two little small obstacles that I need to overcome first.
Yeah,
but I'm sure everyone's like that. I'm sure there's things in your career where you're I really want this, but I need this first, and sometimes you have that fear of.
Yeah.
Everyone has this. You have that fear of failure.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, what if I don't do it right? What if I'm not good enough? What if the person I'm working with doesn't get anything out of this? And you have to sit there and you have to deconstruct those negative thoughts and
Right.
remove them from your thought process so you can move forward with what you're trying to do. And like me, I know like there's probably so many people I could have helped by now and should have helped by now, but they're missing out on that experience because I can't get myself to where I need to be.
And that's a good point to bring up because that's why you need someone to talk to, like Audra, you know, someone that can kind of guide you, that can
See,
kind of
like I
help
said,
you.
this podcast,
Yeah.
you know, on the before the reading, you know, I straight up said this podcast probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for one of the readings I had with Audra.
Makes sense. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my spirit guide reading. I found it very fascinating. I was surprised how relatable it was, and actually to hear that I've got spirit guides, because like I said, I did question that. It's a nice calm feeling actually to know. Yeah, like she mentioned, I'm not alone. Even when I think I'm alone and I'm struggling, I'm not alone. I can just ask for help. Kind of nice. Nice feeling.
So we appreciate everybody for tuning
Yeah.
in. One thing I've been meaning to pitch on a couple of our podcasts by now.
Okay.
So here at Synchronicities, I can post pictures of it on the social media as well. But I actually make and sell smudge sprays. I've got 3 different sprays that I sell. I've got my relaxing spray, my meditation spray, and my grounding spray.
Very cool.
So I have 3 different sprays, and they're actually on sale here at Synchronicities for $25 a bottle. So if you're ever here, look for Spirit Rose sprays, and
Nice.
you'll know that's mine. I actually have sample bottles at the front counter, so you can smell what they're like before you buy it.
That's very cool.
So, yeah.
See, you're already getting going. I like
I'm
it,
getting
man.
it.
I love it.
I'm getting things. I've got the ball kind of rolling. One of the things I like to do, if you all enjoyed this episode, there's a bunch of other healers and people here that maybe not do readings, but I'd like to get some of them on as guests on the show, and they can talk about what it is that they do. So
interesting.
if you're interested in getting a session done, you know, I can kind of bring some of these people on and be like, you know, tell us your story. How did you get into this? So I know when we first started talking about this podcast, I had 2 ideas for podcasts.
Okay.
The other one was going to be called the Supernatural Switchboard. And the whole focus of that one was doing stuff like that, bringing people on that have had paranormal experiences in their life, or healers or mediums and stuff like that. And I wanted to be able to share those people's stories.
Okay.
So you can get to know like how people got into what they do and why they do it.
Right.
So I might not get that going. I might get it going. I might just try to incorporate that idea into this show. You know, every now and then have a special guest and be just like, you know, tell us about you. Tell us how you got into this. Because I know I enjoy hearing other people's stories.
Right.
And I know I mentioned on the last episode that I would have some stories to share this week. We had a change of plans. We had a different topic in mind. But this one, just the opportunity presented itself for this week. And so we took it.
take advantage of it.
So I do have some stories that we will share at the beginning of next podcast. I've got permission from these people.
Okay, awesome.
The one person, I'm going to keep their identity secret. I'm not going to say I might say their first name, but I'm not going to say anything other than, you know, what their story is. I'm not going to give away any information. But Zach, I just want to thank you again for listening. He is one of the listeners. He actually followed me from the other podcast.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that on the last episode.
He was
yeah.
He was one of the couple people that hit me up and they're like, you know, I really miss you on the show. And I'm like, you know, what's funny is I actually just started this other show. So I'm going to share one of his stories. He's okay with me using his name.
Oh, very cool.
Obviously, I wouldn't use his name if he wasn't okay with it. And the funny thing is he doesn't actually live here in Utah. But through text conversations, I was able to help him with some issues that he was having at his new house.
Oh, nice.
So we'll talk about that next week. And we'll talk about some of the other stories that have been shared to us.
Okay, great.
And then there's a new movie that just came out.
Yeah.
This should be our topic next week, unless something comes up. But this should be our topic next week. We're going to talk about a new movie that just came out in theaters and HBO Max.
Yes.
You'll find out what it is next week.
Yes.
But I can tell you that it has to do with the paranormal, obviously. But we're gonna watch the movie.
Yep.
And we're gonna review it. We wanted Ghosty here with that one because it's his week and it was his topic choice, so we didn't want to do it without him. So things kind of worked out with Audra this week. So
Awesome.
thanks again for listening. Ghosty's not here to say, Ghosty, don't play that, so I'll just go with peace out, butterflies.
Bye.
This is the EVP Podcast.